Hello, mate, and welcome back to the channel. So, a lot of women these days actually try to push you to have a relationship with them, and when they hit 30 years of age, everything kind of changes. You might wonder why it's like that. Because her friends are kind of pushing her to get married, not to be left behind. And this is the concept of the women because they overshare everything. If you know women on a very close basis, you know that they would share all the personal kind of things. You tell them one thing, there's not they don't keep anything. They would share all the details of intimacy of everything together, and that's for them something really fine. But to us, maybe it would be kind of weird, and we would be like, "What's the reason behind it?" So at the age of 30, she would be thinking of perhaps having a child, perhaps actually growing a family. You might be wondering why. Because at the age of 30, inside the women, the purpose of them is really beautiful. They should actually bring a child to this world. And that's the foundation of a family, okay? But society these days is pushing them, okay, be an independent woman, be feminist, do whatever you want, your body, your choice. That's completely fine. But you should understand the fact that when you try to actually have all these things, they're actually against the fact of having a family. And the more experiences you have like that, the more difficult it will be to actually have a partner and keep them for the long term. Because you might be like, oh, I had another boyfriend, he was better in that, or he had a better kind of thing. And then it's when you had different kind of experiences, you're going to compare them simultaneously, and your satisfaction is going to drop. So at the age of 30, more or less, women would be triggered to actually start a family. That's why they would push the boyfriend to get married, and they say, okay, you know what are we doing? And it usually comes in a indirect kind of approach. They might ask you for what are we? Is this gonna be like this? Should we get married? Should we cut it off? And they usually go to the negative thing. It's like a test. And they will say, maybe I should be seeing other people. And you should pay very good attention, what to say, because usually you should learn the nonverbal communication and read between the lines. It's not what she says, it's what she's looking for to hear from you. She will trigger you so that you can actually answer in a way. Let me elaborate, make sure you understand. For example, she might be telling you, I'm not sure what we're doing. Who are we? What is this? This is maybe not ending anywhere. And you might be coming with an excuse yeah, it's okay, we can try this. But that is going to be absolute trash. You should tell it depends on what you're looking for. What are you exactly looking for? So the more data you get from her, the more better it's gonna be actually to come to a conclusion. For example, she might be saying okay, a friend of mine got married, and you might be like, okay, if you want to get married, we can talk about it. But you have to be very much careful about this, because if you get married, there is a chance of getting divorced. You can see people that have got divorced because people change with time. And if you do not have a prenup, she's going to come after your stuff, and it's not going to be a good kind of experience. If you want to get married, you should actually go to one of these, what is this, vintage kind of shops that they sell stuff. You can see a lot of wedding rings that are for sale that are used. So that means it didn't work out. So it's on sale. So it's a possibility that it's not going to work out. So you need to prepare for it. I'm not saying look at the glass half empty, but I'm saying look, if it doesn't work out, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to lose your peace. And wherever you go, everybody's going to look at you like, hey, you already had a chance. Maybe it's you, maybe it's them. You cannot say for sure. Maybe you were the nice person, but the partner, whether you're a guy or a girl, the partner was not the best, or maybe it didn't work out. But all I'm saying is that you should be precise about this. And if she's trying to push you to get married, and if you are also at this right age, you should study this because it's not a decision made in haste. Because if you just jump into a kind of thing, you might find yourself like, oh, I'm not really ready for this. I haven't anticipated that. And that's the problem that occurs because a lot of people, I have seen them personally in my own relatives, they get married and then they'll be like, okay, things are not like what we thought. Because look, when you go on a date with someone, you say, okay, hey, how are you? You handshake, everything is good. Like, yeah, perfect. You eat together. What do you expect them to do? They're gonna be really nice to you. But when something goes wrong, that's important. When something goes wrong, you will see the true image of those people. They would bring the other like perspective of themselves. And if you cannot take that, then it's not gonna work out because you will lose your interest in that person. So prior to like marriage, I would say you should try to invest some time exploring, whether it's like vacation, living together for a temporal time, trying to understand that person, like everything, what she wants in the future, or he, what is trying to do, what they want in their life, because maybe you want something else and you in 5 years is going to be different from you right now. So if you just do it right now because you feel lonely, then it's not going to work out, then you will be back to lonely again. And this is a problem. I think a lot of people should actually enjoy their loneliness. If you're enough for yourself and you can maneuver over in your free time when you're alone, when someone comes, you're gonna also be very happy. And the value of you is not gonna be dependent on a person to define you valuable, you know. So I know it sounds like cliche, but just think about it. If you always have to go to somewhere with someone, there always has to be a companion. You cannot do it alone. Well, then you have showing some weakness, you know. But if you're strong enough, and this is the interesting thing, to the ones who have everything, more would be given, and to the ones who have nothing, everything will be taken. So what does it mean? The guy who already has a girlfriend would be seen by other girls very often, and they all want that guy. It's like he has been pre-tested. The guy who doesn't have a girlfriend or anything probably is alone all his time in life. So you should understand these kind of concepts. Like, it's not like you have to beg for something. It's like the more needy you are, the more it's going to run away from you. It's like you chasing your own shadows and it's going to just run away. Imagine yourself, you want to uh, like do something and you see two different people and you have two options. One of them is someone who's really desperate. The other one is someone who's smiling and who's nice. I would go with the nice person. I would be like, okay, that person, whether it's a she or a he, is a really nice person and gives me good feedback and energy. I'll spend my time with that person. But if someone is really needy and I feel like it's not the right environment for me, I don't really feel like I belong there. That's the same thing in a relationship. When someone is alone, when someone is needy, everyone will be trying to run away from them. But in the marriage, it's a different story because marriage is a big step. Like, you're going to get married to someone, you're probably going to plan long term what you're going to do, if you're going to stay in a particular city, the job, the finances. And it's not all the guy's task to provide everything for the family. A lot of these days, women are really independent, but they're not really happy being like dealing with their loneliness. So they would like a guy to accompany them, to have a better kind of social life, whether they want to actually go to a party or vacation, and they look for a high class kind of person. So if you can actually find that one out, I know it's quite difficult, but trust me, if you believe in yourself and you believe that you're worth it, or the right people will attract. But if you don't even believe in yourself and you just feel like, hey, it's not gonna work out. Because these days I've seen a lot of actually females, by the way, that they had really bad relationships and they were like jumping from a really bad guy to another really terrible guy. And most of the time, it was really interesting that they thought that they were not actually worth the relationship, and they were thinking that hey, they're like really low, and they, in their own eyes, they were like they didn't believe in their abilities and themselves. And guess what happens? The universe will give you that. They will give you someone who treats you really poorly, and then they would go off. So women say something when it comes down to what they want, but what they actually react to is completely different. For instance, they might say we're looking for a guy who's loyal, who's kind, who's a nice guy. But those guys are not even seen by women. So women would respond to a guy who's a narcissist, a guy who's super confident, a guy who's showing resources like a nice car or a nice watch, a nice house. Why is it like that? Because they can say that, okay, I was strong enough to get this. So psychologically, they feel like, okay, this guy is competent and can actually be a good kind of person in gathering the resources. And through having this kind of material kind of things, you can gain some confidence within yourself. And that's the beauty of it. By the way, if you like the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'm curious to know what you guys think, because we are, let's say, trying to think, and sharing the ideas is a good concept, I suppose. So yeah, like what they say, what the response to, completely different, because they would respond to someone who's alpha, someone who's really interesting. Otherwise, if that's a nice guy, look at your friends. That person is like not a real guy. That's like a femboy kind of person. That's like they hang out with all the girls, but the girls would feel like feminine energy from that person. It's like, you know. So if you really want to actually be successful in your relationships, you need to study these kind of things, because it's not like the first time you try you're gonna be successful. It's like, okay, trial and fail. You might have 5 different relationships that would not last a year or even less than that. But then through these kind of encounters, you can actually understand more concept about yourself and also the other person. Then you can ensure that, okay, you know what, I know myself, these are my priorities, these are my, let's say, standards, and I would like that. And most of the time, this is really interesting that I noticed. If you show standards for yourself, like when you're a guy and you show standards, it's really beautiful that you trust yourself and that you believe in yourself, and you will be like, you know what, this is my standard, and if you try to push me, I will not be there to support you. And the strongest guy is the guy who is ready to walk away. If you're ready to just walk away, people are going to come after you. But if you would accept everything that they say, this is some nonsense, you'll be like, okay, they would see you as a weak person. You don't have another choice. That way, imagine yourself in their position. They'll be like, okay, whatever I do, he's going to be there. So they cannot replace you, so you do anything you want. So the same concept actually applies. If you have some choices and you'll be like not desperate, you'll be able to walk away, you'll be seen as a strong fit. Back to the concept of the marriage thing though. You know, the body triggers a lot of things at the age of 30, because they're not usually at that level of beauty, and they're just going down, like, because women hit the best in their mid-20s, but after that they kind of come down. They're not the best in the dating market, so they need to find someone safe that they can rely on long term, so in their family eyes and in their friends, it will be seen as a successful person. But here's the thing, in their 20s, they would like to party, they like to hang out with bad boys, do this kind of stuff, but in their 30s, they would shift it and go with someone who's working all the time, who's showing some kind of good stuff, and they would be like, okay, that's gonna be the provider. But you should understand these concepts and not be like fooled in this kind of life, because I believe like women used to be, let's say, unprivileged, but these days they have a lot of privileges, and sometimes they have more than men. And men would be tagged as a misogynist if they talk and say, you know what, all women are good and everything. I love women. They make, like my mom and everything, they make the house come to life, and we can call it home and everything. I love that. But in the society, it's like they want to avenge the guy. Like, hey, you took something from us, we're going to make you like that. But it doesn't work, man. Like, what is the fight for? Just let's be honest. If you want something and you try to say, you know what, in the past we wanted to use like this and we wanted the freedom, you didn't let us. First of all, we did not really care about that. It was like our ancestors. And these days, the women can do anything they want. But when you go and talk to them, they say, we don't need men. So all these things, like basically, you needed a dad to actually be creative. You understand the concept, right? And other than that, like in the social life and experiences, to be satisfied, you need a company. Like even if you're like not straight and if you're a lesbian, still you need a company, and that's because human beings are social creatures. So you need to understand that concept, and you cannot erase the question and say, "Hey, I answered the question." It doesn't work out like that. So everything will be at the right place, but these days it's not, unfortunately. And the women have a lot of good stuff, good for them. I love women. I have a sister, I have a mother, and everything. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes men are not able to speak for themselves. That's the reason why I created this channel to begin with. So we can share some ideas and we can have a positive feedback and have this idea of, okay, when you talk about what you want, it's not being misogynistic, it's not being anti-feminist. Yeah, that was it. And if you like the video, feel free to like, subscribe to the channel. You maybe like one of the videos that pop up on the screen. And yeah, have a good one. And until next week, I wish you a pleasant evening. Yeah, bye bye.